Hey guys, I'm joined by, we have a co-anchor today. This is Daisy Duke, my dog. I'm up here in Crosby. It's good to be back on YouTube with swim lessons. My guest today is one of my favorite people in the entire world. We have my mom, and I wasn't sure about this interview, and a lot of people reached out to me on social media and said you should have your mom on. She's got a lot of cool stories. She's written a lot of things, whether it's poems, books, whatever it might be, and she does. She's lived an incredible life, and it's been a lot of fun hanging out with her this fall, her and my dad. So enjoy this one, guys, because it means very heartfelt and gets kind of deep at the end. But before we get to my mom, we got to talk about my boy Phil Wright with Guild Mortgage, the best in the world. Phil and I talk weekly on the phone, and he has been saying how the market down there has not stopped, even due to COVID. And he always says, Dallas, with rates being as low as they are now, it's a great time to start investing in your future, but with a new home or lowering that monthly payment you currently have. So I want you to reach out to Phil and his team, and you can simply do that by Googling Phil, P-H-I-L, Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T, Guild, that's G-U-I-L-D. Thanks, Phil. Next, we got to talk about Novato Inc., Novato, where style flows. Novato has some of the coolest sinks on the market, and I mean, if you want to up your bathroom and make it really poppin' when you got these Christmas parties coming up, Thanksgiving parties coming up, why not give Novato a chance? Invest in yourself. And our next, but not the least, Mr. Todd Morris. Todd has been a sponsor for a while now, and with Agency Arizona, the investor group. Coming from a construction background, Todd brings experience and knowledge about real estate into the transaction. What do you think about that, Daisy? He is also on the Tune team. That, among three of them, offers exceptional knowledge of the market and negotiation strategies. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram at the THE Todd, T-O-D-D, Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S. Also, shout out Todd. He's about to be a papa. So, good for you, Todd. He needs the money. Just kidding. Sorry. All right. Next is our boy RJ at RJ Creative Concepts. If you're a business owner that's struggling, ask yourself, do you want to look and act like other businesses out there? Well, no, RJ. I want to be better, dude. I want to do bigger things. Well, then contact our boy RJ at RJ Creative Concepts, because he's got something that he'll personally and uniquely put his own little touch on it, and help him out by getting him on Instagram at ARJAY Creative, CREATIVE on Instagram. All right. Thanks, guys. As far as me and Daisy, my co-host this time, we thank you guys and enjoy this episode with my mom. Thanks. Bye.
Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
Hey, Mom. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome, Dal.
What have we been up to lately? Have you been enjoying me being home here the past while?
Don't make me cry.
I
love you being home.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
Yes. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty right away. Why aren't you letting Scruff stay in the house? And for everybody listening, Scruff is probably the best cat in the world. He's a barn cat, but he's very cool to be around. Why don't you let him come and stay in the house?
Well, we had a cat named Puttyhead.
Yes.
And it lived to be 26 years old. And I don't think I want to clean litter box again for 26 years.
Why not? But Scruff is like a dog almost, Mom. He has his dog
but he's
mannerisms.
still got to have a litter box.
I know.
So if you stay here this winter, you can take him into town and you can have the litter box.
What about a litter box in the garage?
He doesn't. Are you going to let him out every time? Is he going to go to the door?
Well, no, he could just live in the garage.
Well, he can live in the garage and we'll let the door open and he can go outside.
Okay.
When Putty had lived in the garage, she never had a litter box. She went outside.
Yeah. So for everybody listening, and if you're watching on YouTube, we've got the this really cool trophy that my parents won with what was the horse's name?
Dal's Pal.
That's right, Mom. Tell us a little bit about Dal's Pal. Everybody loved Dal's Pal.
Well, Dal's Pal was born from a crazy mare that we got named Chaser Home.
Yep.
She won quite a few races, and so then we decided, well, we would keep her and breed her. And the first colt we got was named He's Back in Black. And he won a couple races, and then he We don't know what happened, but anyway, he died. And so our next, a year younger, was Dal's pal.
Mm-hmm.
We named him Dal's pal because nobody could catch him when he was a baby, but he would follow Dallas around.
Me.
Yes. Yes. For some reason, he liked you, I guess.
Yes.
Anyway, so, but he was kind of crazy. It took a couple years to get him broke. We sent him over to Belcourt to my friend Cora Champagne, and it took
Shout out Cora Champagne. You're one of your best friends.
she's my Indian blood sister.
Yeah, she's cool.
She's
Cora's
the best.
awesome.
She's the best. Anyway, it took her and 2 or 3 Indian boys to get Dal's pal broke for 2 years.
Yeah, but then he got broke and he finished
Once
the story.
he started running, he ran good. He ran until he was 12 years old or 11 years old. And he won, I don't know how many races.
A lot.
But people, when we would come, they would say, "Where's Dal's pal?" They would just be, excited because they knew he was going to run good. But nobody ever wanted to claim him because he was crazy and never knew what he was going to do.
Well, explain to people listening what a claim is in a horse race, because not everybody might not know what a claim is.
Okay. So
Yeah.
claiming is you decide your horse is worth a certain price
Mm-hmm.
that you would be willing to sell him for, and you try to. It started out, people would match race their horses for a certain price,
Yeah.
and that would be a claim price, and then they decided that they could buy each other's horses for that price. And so sometimes you want to sell a horse, you put him in a claim race, or we've claimed horses. You can buy a horse out of a claim race.
Right.
And so, it just, it's the price of a horse. If the horse wins for, say, $2,500, then you want to run him for the next higher claim price, and 35 or 32, whatever racetrack you're at. And, until, say you're running him for 5 or 75. Dal's pal ran for all those prices. At one point, he ran for an optional claim of 16,000, and he ran like 5th. So we knew he wasn't worth that much money.
Wasn't worth 16,000. Yeah.
No. So then we went back down to like 7,500. And when the horses get older, then you want to run them cheaper. And
Well, some guys, if a horse is hurt and the horse is worth 15,000, been running well at 15,000, and they know he's hurt, they'll run him in like 5,000. Then somebody claims him, and then they see that he's hurt, and they're kind of. But that's part of the game.
well, they think they're getting a bargain.
Right.
But there's usually a hole in the horse somewhere.
Or sometimes that trainer just needs a win, and he'll do that.
Yes, if you get kind of desperate and you want the horse to win, so you put him in where he actually does belong with horses where he's worth.
Would you say Dal's pal was probably the most successful horse you and Dad have had?
No,
Who was the most successful?
going to Maui.
Going to Maui.
Yeah,
He was a nice horse.
he was nice. We never even got him till he was 7 years old.
Right.
He had won. Oh, he won the Winnipeg Free Press,
Which is a big race. Big stake race.
Big stake race in Winnipeg. He won a lot of races. He won out in Washington. He was a Washington bred, and he won races out in Spokane and different places. But when we got him, they thought he was done running.
Why did he have some?
Well, they were running him in Spokane, and his feet. They were running him in the fall, in the winter. They kind of had an extended meet that year, and it rained and the track froze, so there was a lot of dirt clods, like frozen dirt clods, and there was like running on rocks. And so he had white feet, which are more tender than black feet.
Mm-hmm.
And so his feet got bad, and he just quit running. And so we told the owners, who were from Winnipeg, if you ever want to sell him, give us a call.
Yeah.
So that spring they called us, and they said, do you want to buy him? And we said, absolutely. And at that time, we paid, I can't remember, it was $2,000 or $2,500, but he was probably the most expensive horse we ever bought.
Yeah.
And I think you were, I don't know, you were like maybe 2 years old, maybe 3.
When
You
we
were
got
pretty
Maui.
little. Yeah, you were pretty little when we got him. And he was so gentle and kind that kids could come in the stall and play with him. He ate donuts. The owners fed him donuts. all the time. Whenever he would race, the owners would come. Like, we eventually took him back to Maui. We rested him for a year, and we got him going again.
Well, tell everybody about the turbulator, because that was this new invention that you guys had that like kind of sparked
Well, we went.
his legs back to health.
Yeah, we
What
went.
was this? Because it was like a hot tub for his two front
We
legs.
went to Nebraska one fall in 1989. And there was an old guy named Harold Fraser. He's from Idaho. And he had this stock that the horses stood in. And then it had a big tub at the end of it. And he would lead the horses in there, and they'd put their front legs in the stock. Or he had a horse that he put the back legs in. And it's like a garbage can, the size of a large garbage can. And it had jets in the bottom. It was like a whirlpool, and it had water in it. And he'd plug it in, and then the horses would whirlpool their legs. And you do that for 20 minutes or half an hour, just so the horse didn't get too bored and want to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And Harold Fraser had a horse that he put in there, and it would try to step out all the time. And he took the Racing Form newspaper, and he would swat him on the butt and say, "You stay in there, by God, or I'll run you back on Friday."
So you got the...
So he had two of them. So we bought one. We brought it home, and it was like a couple years later that we got Maui. And so, and we use the turbulator on a lot of our horses, but Maui especially loved the turbulator. And so we took that everywhere we went, and he would stay in it and stuff. And we won a lot of races with him. When he was 10 years old, we went to El Paso, Texas, to Sunland Park. He was 9, I guess, the first year we went there. Anyway, we went in after Christmas, and our horses looked terrible. They had really, really long hair, and we had been planning on going to Turf Paradise.
Oh, Turf Paradise. Yeah, in Phoenix.
Because we had went to Turf Paradise the year before, and did well. Anyway, we were going to go again, and then November, the guy called up and said, "Well, we won't come till Christmas or right after Christmas." And the guy said, "Well, I can't hold your stalls that long." And so we had a really good friend named Daryl Ost, and he called and said, "Come over to Sunland Park. I'm the racing secretary over here. I'll get you stalls." So we loaded up and went there, and we had been galloping our horses, ponying them in the fields because we didn't have much snow that winter.
Fields up here in Crosby.
Yeah. But they had long hair. They looked horrible. So we got to Sunland Park, 70, 80 degrees, and we had these horses with this long hair, and we were only there a couple days, and the leading trainer, or the leading jockey's agent, came over to our barn and said, introduced our, we'll gallop your horses and stuff. And I got this Billy Peterson, he's the leading rider. And so he said, okay. And so Billy gets on Maui, and he works him, and now Maui's 9 years old. He doesn't have the best legs.
Yeah.
But he's still, quite a horse. And so Billy Peterson comes back, and he says, this is a really nice horse, but he needs a few more works. And we said, well, he's 9 years old. We can't really work him too much. And so he said, okay,
run the race out of him.
Yeah. So a couple days later, your dad said, go over and enter Maui. He's ready for a race. So I was over there entering him, and the agent comes up to me and says, what are you doing over here? And I said, well, I'm entering Maui. And he said, well, Billy said he wasn't ready for a race. I said, I know, but we can't work him anymore. We'll give him a couple races with another rider, and then we'll put Billy on. And they go, oh, good plan. So, okay. The rider I came up with was an old Mexican that was by the racetrack. One day I was kind of dejected, and I was riding the pony horse by, and this guy was sitting there, and he was taking his boots off, putting his shoes on in his car. And so we were watching the horses gallop, and so we started a conversation, and I said, how come you not gallop? And he goes, well, I'm old, nobody wants to ride me anymore. And I said,
what?
Yeah. And I said, you know what? We need a rider at our barn. Come over to our barn tomorrow morning, because because we'll ride you. We don't. Nobody likes our horses, and
Well,
so we're a good
match
pet.
made in heaven. Nobody wanted to ride the horses, and nobody would ride him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
So the next morning, this guy shows up, and I introduce him to Dan. His name is Wilfredo Sanjinas.
Wilfredo.
You loved him.
Oh, I don't
He
remember
loved
Will.
you.
Yeah.
And you had a little stick horse you used to ride along all the time, going up to the track and stuff. Anyway, so I went up and entered Maui and put Wilfredo on. So that morning was about 11 o'clock race day, a couple days later.
How old was Will?
Oh, gosh. He's probably...
In his 60s?
No, he's probably in his 50s anyway.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty old.
So in his prime.
That was pretty old in those days.
Okay, sorry.
Back in the
Mom.
90s. Back in the 90s, 94.
Okay.
1994.
So you name Will on.
So I named Wilfredo on.
Mm-hmm.
So that morning we're sitting in the tack room, and we were next to the barn next to us had the leading trainer for several years at the racetrack.
Yeah.
His name was Bob Arnett.
Bob Arnett, I remember him.
Okay, so
Legend.
we're sitting in the tack room, and I think Bob thought we were gone.
Yeah.
So he comes over and he goes down the shed row and he looked at every horse, and he gets to Maui's stall, and he chucked the ducks under the chains and goes in the barn. He goes in the stall with the horse. That is a big no-no at the racetrack. You don't go to somebody else's barn and go in and look at their horses.
Yeah.
And so we went down there and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he goes, "Oh, I was just being neighborly." It's like, get out of the stall.
Yeah.
And so he gets out and he says, he had a real southern, he looked kind of like Elvis. He had big black hair, big sideburns and glasses, and he had a real southern drawl. And he goes, "Y'all's horses are long ways from a race. 90 days from a
90
race.
days.
90 days. And so he goes, "Look at the hair on these horses." So we visited him for a few minutes, and then he left. So I said to Dan, "Why didn't you tell him that Maui was in today in the 6th race?" And he goes, "Well, I just didn't want to. He'll find out soon enough."
Yeah.
So here comes the race. We're 99-1. Because,
Which is very high odds.
yeah, it only goes to 100.
Right.
Okay, so the race announcer happens to be a guy that was the race announcer in Spokane.
And he knew Maui.
So he knows going to Maui very, very
Oh.
well. I can't think of his name right now. And
What's that, Dad?
his name was Norm Amundsen.
Norm Amundsen,
Yeah.
Dad, with the info in the back.
Yeah, so we're in the 9 hole, and we're in the post parade, and Maui's 99-1. And the horses all go through, and he announces the name, and then he says, "You might want to take a look at this number 9 horse. It's going to Maui. He won a lot of races out in the Spokane," and he started talking about him, and he went from 99-1 down to 9-2.
Oh, damn.
Anyway, so we shot out of the 9 hole in Maui, and Wilfredo never looked back.
What, really? He won the race?
Oh, yeah, he
with
won
Will.
the race.
So what was Bob Arnett saying?
Well, we don't know, but the next day we were at the races, and we were sitting there, and he comes over and he sits with Dad and I. We didn't have nothing to do, so we go up and watch races. So Bob comes down and he says, "Was that y'all in the wind?" And I saw as I was watching TV. They had TV. They had reruns on TV that night, every night from El Paso, on a certain channel. He says, "Wilma and I was watching the TV reruns last night, and I said to Wilma, 'Is that our neighbors in the wind picture?'"
And it was.
It was us. So he goes, "How I want to know is how you got that horse to run 6 furlongs that fast in that short a time."
What did Wilfredo say after the...
Oh, he was ecstatic. He was our man, and he rode every horse.
Did he?
Yeah.
So what happened to the guy the leading jockey? He just didn't ever come back?
They were mad. They came over. They wanted to ride him, and we said,
Nope,
"Well,
we gotta
no.
stick with Will."
Yeah, we got to stick with Wilfredo.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was a very nice man.
Wasn't
we really liked him.
Wasn't Bob Arnett the guy who brought toys every morning to the barn?
So then
he was a
Bob
special guy.
He became our very best
he
friend.
was very special.
After that,
Yeah.
he became our very best friend. And his mother used to have a daycare. And so he had two garbage, huge burn barrels of toys that she had from the daycare. every day he would bring you a toy.
Mm-hmm.
You would see his car coming and you would run out to greet him. And someday it would be like a little airplane man. Someday it would be a Tonka truck. Someday it'd be a stuffed bear. Every day was something different. And it didn't matter what the toy was, whether expensive or cheap or whatever, but he was your hero. And I think we had the whole 2 barrels worth of toys by the time we left to go home.
Well, yeah, it's crazy because I remember that. I remember Bob.
Yeah. So then the next year we went back down there and we were stalled. He said, I'll make sure you're stalled next to me again. And so we were. And he had a phone in his tack room. And so we would go over, instead of me having to drive clear to the front side to enter, he would say, come over and use my phone and call and enter. So one day we were entering and there was a race that came up that was going to be just a super perfect, easy race for going to Maui. Now, he was 10 years old this time. And so I got done entering, and Dan was sitting there, and Bob says, God damn, I want to win a race. I want to ride him. Y'all can't lose that race.
Tell him to burn my lungs.
Okay. So he had like 20, 30 horses in his barn, and he had a Frenchman working for him. He was a French sheep herder originally from France, and his nickname was Frenchie. And he had a girlfriend that worked for Bob too, and her name was Karen. But Dallas gave everybody nicknames, so he called Karen Keratin.
Nice.
And so anyway,
that's carried over to my adulthood.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. Started as a young age. So you're 4 years old. I think you had your birthday there. Anyway, so one day the chickens were running around, and so Frenchie comes and he says, hey, that little kid Dallas, those chickens told me that he was chasing them. Or no, Dallas, you were chasing those chickens, and you said, no, I wasn't. And Frenchie says, yes, you were. Those chickens told me you were. And you said, well, those chickens are liars.
Jeez.
So,
was I chasing them? I don't remember that.
No, I don't think you were. They were. You didn't chase them because they all had those fighting roosters and stuff.
Oh.
And some hens and stuff. So yeah, you didn't chase them because they were kind of mean. But anyway, one day Bob had a horse that got away. Karen had a fake leg, so she couldn't really.
Who's Karen?
Keratin.
Oh, Keratin.
Okay, so she had a fake foot or something. I can't remember.
So she
what
was
it
out catching the horse.
But she was holding the horse, and the horse was going to be in the race that day, and it just bathed it, and of course it's feeling really good.
Yeah.
So it starts kind of running sideways, and she can't keep up with it, and it runs over the shavings pile, and she trips and falls into the shavings pile, and away goes the horse. So Bob screams. So everybody runs to go catch this horse because it's in a big race. And so I took off, Frenchie took off, and Bob took off. And he lasted about a barn's worth. And then he had to quit running. And Frenchie went the one way, and I went the way the horse went. And anyway, I ended up catching him, and I bringing him back. And Bob was standing there bent over and going, and your dad comes up and goes, what's wrong, Bob? Are you okay? Are you okay? And he goes, I burnt my lungs. And you know how when you run too hard, it does kind of make your lungs
Feels
on
like you
fire.
burnt your lungs.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was, we never kind of forgot that story.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, one thing everybody asks me is, how did you guys get into horse racing? Or how does a person get into horse racing? What would you tell them would be the easiest way to get into horse racing? Other, just maybe buying a horse, contacting a trainer. How does it work, Mom?
Well, we both got into horse racing because we love horses.
Yeah. Well, you and Dad met at a horse track, right?
Yeah.
Because you're from Laurel, Montana. He's from Crosby, North Dakota.
Yeah, but it was kind of a turn of fate that I ever got into horse racing. I was married. My husband got killed. I was very depressed. And so my friend that lived in Colorado, she said, you need to move away. You need to come down here to Colorado. And so my mom pretty much agreed with her. And so I went to the Denver Stock Show and to see if I liked it there in Colorado Springs where they lived. And it seemed pretty easy. And I said, just when you lose somebody in your life, the sorrow really takes over, and it's very deep depression. And when people come up to you and say, "Oh, how you doing today? I feel really bad for you," that throws you back into the deep hole. And like I would just sit in a chair for days and days. So I said to Bonnie Ingle, shout out to her. She lives in Glendive. I said,
shout out Bonnie Ingalls.
If I move down there, you can't tell anybody my past.
Right.
Just don't tell them what happened to me. Just tell them that I'm your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as somebody finds out you've lost somebody, then they give you sorrow. And when people feel sorry for you, you feel sorry for yourself.
You think that's true?
That's what happened to me. I felt, poor me. I'm so sad that you go into the depression and you can't crawl out of that depression.
Right.
In the days that you do crawl out of it, like one day I went to a store when I was in Laurel, I went to the drugstore and I bought some stuff and I was feeling pretty good that day. Mm-hmm. And the lady says, the cashier, and she said, "Oh, I guess you don't recognize me." And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I don't." She goes, "Well, I played the organ at your wedding." And I just lost it. I just left the stuff. I just walked out of the store. I just went home and I cried.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you can't get away from.
Triggers.
Yeah. And so I had to start a new life.
Yes.
So I moved to Colorado Springs. I got a job as a flag girl on road construction. I made really good money. And so I lived down there for a year and a half. And I lived with, shout out to Sherry Evans, who also lives in Glendive.
Sherry, I know Sherry.
We moved, her and I got Bonnie. Sherry baby. Anyway, Bonnie and her husband were going to get stationed somewhere else. So anyway, we were thinking about moving back to Montana. And I said, "Hey, there's a horse sale. Let's just go to it for the fun of it." So we went to this horse sale down in Pueblo, Colorado. And there was like 80 some horses. And we were all looking at them before the sale. And so there's this real pretty black horse. And the guy said, "You know what? You should buy this horse because we ran him as a 2-year-old. He's a really good racehorse. He was a quarter horse. And you should run him as a 3-year-old," because I was looking for a barrel racing horse. I did a lot of rodeos. I was a barrel racer at that time. And so I said, I don't know. He's pretty nice. He'd be pretty expensive. And he said no, because he was a flying lark horse. And he said, "No, he's going to go really cheap because everybody will either bought a horse or left because he's the second last in the sale, like number 81. So
nobody will be there watching.
No. And so I said, "Well, I don't have very much money. I have like $1,200 tops I could buy him for." And at that time, back in the 70s, that was a lot of money.
Yeah. There was a couple tickets to the Eagles.
Yeah. And they were playing. Oh, you mean the band or the team?
No, the band.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, they're playing at the Red Rocks in Denver.
Did you go?
No.
Oh, my God. The Red Rocks was a thing back then?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow, it's been there for a long time.
Oh, it's been there for eons, yeah.
Okay, sorry, you were saying.
Anyway, I bought him for $900.
Nice.
And I rode the crap out of him. I brought him back to Montana, wintered him out, and the next spring I went to Miles City they were racing the whole month of May back then. And so I went down there to the races and I met this guy and we were talking and I said, "Well, I got a racehorse that ran as a 2-year-old." And he said, "Oh, bring it down." And so I loaded him up the next week and I brought him down. And I unload this long-haired, skinny-looking horse. And he goes, "Well, I don't know. You could do what I could do to get him ready if you don't have much money. You need to take him and ride him like this, and this. So many, tell me how far to go, how many days to go, and feed him like this and bring him back at the end of the meet and we'll see how he looks." So that gave me about 3 weeks. So I did all the stuff and I would haul him over to Billings to the racetrack at Metro Park and gallop him. And I was riding him one day over there, and I just scalped him a stock saddle. I had my barrel racing saddle. I didn't have a flat saddle or anything.
So you're riding with a barrel racing saddle
Yeah,
on? My God.
yeah. I was like the biggest nerd, but nobody cared back then.
Yeah, nobody
Everybody
cared.
was fun, you know.
Yep.
And they weren't racing; it was just people training there.
Yeah.
So there was a guy named Carl Anderson, and he was from like Huntley or Shepherd or something. He was
Okay.
a really good quarter horse. He had Appaloosas, but he was like a good quarter horse Appaloose trainer.
Okay.
And so, like, I'm riding along, and so he pulls up beside me on this horse, and he goes, "Okay, you want to go for it today?" And I kind of laugh, and I go,
So
"Yeah,
you're gonna race?
yeah." Well, I didn't know I was going to race. I thought we were just going to kind of gallop out. So, we went for it, and we were head and head, and he was like all out on his horse, and I was trying to stop mine. It's like, man, I'm going way too fast.
So he won the race?
Yeah, so he outworks Carl's horse. And we got back to the barn, and Carl goes, "Man, you better take that horse and run him someplace. He can really run." It's like, oh my God, my eyes, I think, were still watering.
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
It's like I rode a lot of motorcycles when I was in high school, and that's how my eyes felt.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I took him back down to Jerry Backlund in Miles City, and by then the meet was over, and they were moving on to Rapid City, and they're going to race down there for a month in the month of June. And so it's like, okay, and so I sent the horse with him, and I was working for my brother building houses. Helping him and putting on roofs and stuff. And so I would drive down 5 hours every Friday night and come back Sunday night and go to the races. And then I think my horse maybe ran once because he was still kind of getting ready to run.
Yep.
And so then I met these two girls that were really, really fun. And they were working for a guy that was from Crosby.
No.
And his name was Champ Christensen.
Oh my God, Champ Christensen, the GOAT.
So I said,
The guy who gave me my first horse.
yeah. So anyway, so those girls go, you know, this guy, Champ would probably hire you and pay you to work with us and train your horse for free.
Yeah.
And you could be here, you could train your own horse, you could be with us and everything. And I thought, you know, that sounds a lot better than building houses and driving every weekend.
Right.
So then I went to work for Champ, and that was like in June. And so then like 5-6 weeks later, we went to Great Falls and Shelby and a few different places. And then we went to Baker, Montana, and we were there in the barn. And this crazy guy comes running in. He goes, "Hey, I'm from Crosby. I knew your dad. And it's like,
Talking to you?
yeah, it was your dad. It was Dan Hansen.
Oh, no shit. Wow.
Yeah. So that's how we met. But that was
When you guys were in Billings, or
79.
what racetrack were you at?
Baker down in Fallon
Baker,
County,
Montana.
Fallon County Fair.
Okay.
And my horse happened to win down there. So that
Oh,
was
nice.
kind of cool.
Yeah. How was it working for Champ?
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
He would take you drink a beer every night and buy you supper, go dancing, and
Yeah.
the next day we'd all be hungover. He had these 3 blondes working for him. It was fantastic for him.
Champ's the man. Well, speaking of Champ, we should talk about Cajoli.
Okay, yeah. So we're racing in Belcourt,
Yeah.
Chippewa Downs.
And Champ, this is when I was how old was I? I was in college. I was in Dickinson. I think I was at least 19, 20 years old.
You were junior, second year, a sophomore. So you were probably 20, yeah.
Yeah.
And we were running in Belcourt, and Champ had 3 or 4 horses in the same race.
Yeah.
So he came up and said, "Hey, can Dallas paddock one of these horses? I got too many in the race." And this was like the 4th of July handicap. And we said, well, it needs to be a really nice horse because we don't want to get him hurt because he's playing football.
Yeah, I was just about to go back down to Dickinson.
Yeah.
To play.
And so he said, no, he's a really nice horse. He's an old horse. And at that time, I think he was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so poor Cajoli ran dead last by many. I'm saying 50 lengths.
He got smoked.
And you took care of him and cooled him out like he'd won the race, like a stake horse. And we were talking to Champ after the race and blah, blah, blah. And you come around the corner and said, God, that's really a nice horse, Champ. I want to buy him. And your dad and I just about had a stroke.
Yeah, Dad's like, we don't need any more horses.
Well, he was old and he just ran last. Who wants him,
I know.
And so we kind of thought that was over. And 2 days later, we're at home and the phone rings and the answer machine says, we weren't in the house anyway. The answer machine said, hey, I left Cajole. I'm giving Dallas Cajole. He's in the barn in town, and I left the papers at the cash register at the Red Rooster.
Yeah.
So we went, and we were going to leave to go to Winnipeg the next day, you and me, and take some horses up there.
Yep.
And so we went into the barn, and here was Cajole, and he was sick as hell. He had the snot running out his nose, and he looked terrible. And so,
he's really run down.
Yeah.
Really run down.
And so we didn't want to get the rest of the horses sick, so we loaded up, and we left right away.
Yeah.
And we got up to Winnipeg, and we were training horses, and we were there a couple of weeks, and your grandpa Babe was taking care of Cajole, and they got him well, and about 2 or 3 weeks later, Grandpa was jipping him and running him in a circle with a big long rope. And he was doing really good. So your dad was going to come up for the race. And he said, what should I do with Cajole? And I said, well, just bring him along. At that time, it wasn't no big deal to put a horse in a trailer and zip across the border. You didn't need any paperwork. You didn't need nothing.
Right.
So anyway, he gets up there and he unloads this beautiful, beautiful black horse that me and you just, our eyes popped out. It's like, what happened?
Yeah,
My
he looked
God.
great.
He was, and just before that, an hour or two before that, I was going around the track and saying, we got this old horse.
Yeah, you were trying to sell him.
I was going to sell him for $100
bucks. And a guy was going to buy him.
And nobody wanted him.
That guy from Belcourt.
He didn't have any cash. I wanted $100 cash. Anyway, so you and Remy.
Shout out Remy Selman.
The Gallop boy.
Yep. From Barbados.
You said, well, can we gallop him? And I said, I don't care. So you threw the tack on him, threw Remy on, and went to the training track, and about 20 people came to the rail to watch him gallop, and everybody was waving their $100 bills.
Well, yeah, because he would jog and he'd bend his head just perfectly and just glide along the track. He was awesome.
He was gorgeous.
Yeah.
We forgot to mention the fact that he had ran all over in the
we didn't know that.
Southwest. Well, we did.
Oh, we did?
He ran in the southwest part of the United States, in Kentucky, Louisiana, and all over. And he had made $340,000 in his lifetime.
Yeah.
But we thought he was shot. Anyway, it turns out he wasn't shot. He was just old and run down and sick. And Champ had got him in a package deal with some other horses. And so... anyway, he gave him to you, and then you said, can we keep him?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, if you keep him, you and Remy have to take care of him, because I have these 5 or 6 other horses. I got my hands full. You're going to have to ice his legs every day. You're going to have to gallop him. You're going to have to train him and feed him, blah, 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 clean his stall. Mm-hmm. I said, and when you leave and go back to college, Remy's going to have to do it. So you make the deal with Remy, because it ain't going to be me. Okay, so Remy took on that responsibility. You guys did a fantastic job. So here comes race night.
They were kind of calling me mini Bob Baffert.
That's a whole nother story, Bob Baffert.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, so race night comes, and your dad and I take him over to the paddock.
I'm in Dickinson now. I had to leave. I was pissed.
Right.
2 days for football had started, so I had to go back to Dickinson. But you could watch the Winnipeg horse races on the internet, on a computer.
Yeah.
So I had all my football buddies over to watch the Cajole race, and then you go ahead and take it over.
Okay, so we're in the paddock, and all the horses, there's several. We put him in the cheapest
2,500
plain race, non-winners of the year,
Yep.
or maybe 2 years, that you could find for 2,500. And we didn't really know that he'd never ran that cheap before. So we're standing there, and there's 2 or 3 crazy horses. They're having a wreck and jumping around and losing guys and throwing the valets around. And I thought Dan was holding Cajoli. He thought I was holding Cajoli. We looked, and he was just standing there by himself, calm as can be. And so,
God, he was the best.
anyway, we throw the rider on, and the jockeys go out. Dan leads the horse and the rider out, and this guy hollers, and he said, Deb Hansen, come over here. This guy wants to talk to you. And it's a guy that's all dressed up. It looks really, really nice. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we got this horse from Champ. He's never been to Canada.
Probably full of drugs.
Yeah. And I think this guy's the FBI.
Right.
I'm dead. I'm a cooked goose. And so I walk
Cooked
over.
goose.
I can't. Dad, he sees me. He's coming back. He sees me go to talk to these guys, and they hollered at me. He ducked under the rail.
Oh,
and
God.
left me. And so anyway, he says, do you know this guy? And I said, no. And so he introduces me. The name meant absolutely nothing to me. And so the guy says, okay, what I want to know is where you got this horse. And I thought, I'm going to jail.
Yeah, it's over.
I won't even make the race. And I said, a guy gave him to my son. He gave him to my son. And he said, oh, really? And I said, yep. And he said, well, I used to own this horse.
Oh,
And I said, what? He said, I used to own this horse. I've been trying to find him for 2 years. I lost him in a claim race. And I think it was Kentucky for 50,000 claim
damn.
2 years ago.
So it was a big claim race.
He was running for 50,000 claim 2 years ago, and now here we are in Winnipeg running for 2,500.
Yeah.
What's wrong with this picture? And so we chatted for a minute, and he says, okay, and the horse is 99-1. Okay, he leaves, and your dad finds me, and he goes, God, what was that? Was that the FBI?
Yeah, what was that all about?
And I said, no, the guy used to own Cajoli. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, his wife finally seen him come up on the computer, and they're from Edmonton or Calgary, and they wanted to have him, come. He came to the races tonight specifically to find the horse. So now we look at the odds board, and he went from $99 down to $62.
So, guy put a good chunk of change
He put a bunch
on
of money. Yeah. So anyway, we told the riders instructions.
Well, let's go back.
What?
Let's go back to when you're like, who do you want to ride? And I said, I want Antonio Whitehall to ride. And Antonio's my boy, Antonio, leading rider every year right there. And he was going to ride Cajoli. I'm like, holy shit, now we got a chance. Well, then last second, you called and said, Antonio's got to ride a different horse. He can't ride Cajoli. Who would you like? And there was only one guy left, and it was Juan Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
And Juan Crawford was like kind of, I mean, he was good.
I liked him.
I liked Juan, but he wasn't in the top 5 jockeys.
Well,
in the
you weren't going to
standings.
get the top 5 because
We were though with Antonio,
Yeah, but
then
his agent wasn't going to let him ride that horse that was a low life that got beat at Belcourt by 50 lengths.
So kind of like Will Alfredo, we got
the bottom of the barrel.
We got Will Alfredo. Wilfredo, sorry.
Sanjinas. Okay, so now we tell him rider's instructions: go to the front and stay there for as long as you can, for as far as you can, and maybe we'll get 5th.
Maybe
we'll get 5th. We would be so tickled with 5th. So, okay. So we're like in the middle, I think we're in the 5 or 6 hole. I can't remember. We bust out of there, and we're going head and head, and we're looking good. And then some of the other horses kind of come up on him, and we drift back a little bit. Now we're 3rd. Now we're 4th. Now we're going into the turn, and we're down on the rail. Everybody's ahead, and we're 5th. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the turn, the rider swings the horse way out wide. And it's like,
Wanted.
Oh my God, we're not even going to get 5th. We're going to be, on the also ran outside of everybody. And so now they hit the straightaway, and he's like 5th or 6th, and he starts gaining a little, and he gets back to 5th, and your dad and I are kind of looking at each other going, yeah, we're going to get 5th. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
And pretty soon he catches a horse, and he's going to be 4th. And then he passes that horse and he's going to be third. And we're like already jumping up and down with each other on their shoulders. Yay, we're going to get third. We're going to get third. And the first two horses are just going bobbing head and head, nose and nose. And they're just going lickety split. And everybody's cheering. And Cajoli's on the outside. He's going to be third. He's going to be third. In the last 50 yards, he zooms up and he passes those two horses. And wins the race. And the whole crowd sucked air and was silent.
Yeah.
And then they just burst into cheers.
Yeah.
And
he was
so
awesome.
when he came back, after they pull up on the backside and they would come trotting back, the only people in the win picture was the rider, Dan, and me, and the FBI guy that used to own him.
Yeah.
And he paid $62 to win.
Which was a lot of money.
And that guy...
Did you have some money on him that night?
We did. A little bit, like $5 across or something.
Jeez.
Not nearly enough.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't. We thought, maybe we'll get fifth.
Yeah.
That was our.
Should have bet more.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, so we ran them. Oh, so then we go to the test barn, and I have my cell phone, and there's a big sign where we give the horse a bath in the test barn, and there's a big sign that says no cell phones. So my cell phone rings, and it's you.
Yep.
And you're screaming in the phone, we won, we won, we won. And I go, yeah, I know, I'm in the test barn. And in the background, all the football teams going, Cajoli, Cajoli, Cajoli.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was so much fun to watch it with those guys.
So that was fun. So we ran them once, twice more. And then we kept them over the winter. And then the next year we ran them. And there was these two girls came along and they said, I could hear them talking to the guy on the backside of me that they were looking for a horse that they could use with autistic kids for riding lessons or handicapped kids. And they were looking for an older horse that was very kind and quiet and blah, blah, blah. And this guy was trying to sell him this idiot 3-year-old filly that I knew was a bad deal. So I waited till they got done talking to him. And then I went around the corner. I said, hey, I got the perfect horse for you girls. And they go, yeah, right. And I said, no, really, here he is. He just ran. He won. But now he's 11 years old. He's going to be 12. We need to move him because the horses can't run on the racetrack when they're older than 12 unless they win or run in the top 3.
Yeah.
And then it's difficult because they're running against 4 and 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds or something. It's just hard because they're old.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they said, well, we'll think about it. Okay, here's my cell number. So they called me the next day and they said, can we come back and ride him? I said, absolutely. I said, but make sure he's going to run on Sunday. So, you can't come that day. And so they said, well, okay, we'll come on Saturday. Okay, so they came Saturday and they said, well, we forgot our saddle. I said, that's okay. If you can ride English, you can ride in the gallop saddle. It's like, okay. So I saddled him up and I had him stand in the shed when I drug out a bale of straw. And she goes, what's that for? And is like, I am not legging your big ass on there, girl. You're stepping on the bale and getting on.
Yep.
So she gets on him and I had a lead rope on him. And she goes, don't let the lead rope off because she thought he was take off or something. Because sometimes some horses are kind of crazy.
Like
I said,
Dal's Pell.
Yeah.
He would have took off.
Yeah. Well, I would never. He wouldn't have stood.
But not Cajoli.
He wouldn't have stood by the bale, first of all.
Probably not, no.
Anyway, so I let her out. She walked around. And she goes, I guess you can take the rope off. And so then they bought him that day.
Yeah, and I was pissed.
Yeah.
But you didn't even tell me.
I know. So how much money did you say you wanted for him?
The what?
Remember you gave me a price because I said.
I can't remember.
Because I think they gave me I said they'll give me $1,000 for him. And you said $1,000. We wouldn't take less than $2,000. It's like, oh, did I say 1,000? I meant 2,000. They'll give you 2,000. And said, okay, I'll let him go. And I thought, I'm gonna give him $1,000 for rent, partying, going to school in Dickinson. I may as well say I sold it to him for the horse.
Oh my God, Mom!
I guess
rude.
You never knew that's part of the story.
No.
Yeah. So I gave you the other 1,000.
Oh.
Anyway, so
but he went to a good home.
The following year, we went up. We were in Winnipeg, and so I kind of.
God, I can't believe you lied to me.
It was a benefit for you. You benefited. It wasn't really a lie. It was just a loan.
Loan.
Yeah, I gave you $1,000. Anyway, so the following year, Cajoli's now 13, and we're at the racetrack, and so we followed where the horse was, and one morning we decided we'd go out and visit him.
Dad walking through with a bunch of ice cream. All right, iPad. Sorry, you go ahead, Mom.
Okay, so we go after one morning after the track. It was kind of cool. I had a sweatshirt on, and we went out to the farm where Cajoli is now being riding with these autistic handicapped kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said to the girl, "How's he doing?" And she said, "He's doing fantastic." And we went out and looked at him, and he had put on weight. Because racehorses they're just lean,
They're skinny,
lean machines.
Yeah.
He had blossomed into one of the most beautiful, beautiful horses I've ever seen. And so I was taking pictures of you, and then I went over and I stood next to him, and he reached over and he grabbed a hold of my sweatshirt and was trying to bite, which was very uncharacteristic. He wasn't really trying to bite me. He was just nipping at the sweatshirt, and he caught his teeth with the sweatshirt 2 or 3 times. And I thought, well, that's really weird. And so the girl said, "Oh my God, he remembers you." And I said, "You know what? We only owned him for 2 years. He's many people have came and gone in his life. He can't remember me."
Yeah.
But you know what he remembers? The smell of the racetrack on that sweatshirt.
Probably.
That's what he remembered. So then I said, "Well, how's he doing?" And she said, "Well, there's a little 9-year-old girl that started brushing him and grooming him. And pretty soon she wanted to ride him. And so she was able to ride. So they let this little girl didn't talk.
Right.
Yeah, she didn't speak at all. She didn't speak to people. You could talk to her. No, she didn't talk. Anyway, so she started riding Cajoli, and one day they heard her talking to the horse.
Wow. That's
So
pretty cool.
yeah, me and you just about got tears in our eyes
Yeah.
when you told us that story. And it's like, you know what? This horse came full circle. This is what he was actually meant to do in the long run.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But think of the hundreds of people that went through his life,
Mm-hmm.
including us,
Yeah.
to meet special kids.
Yeah.
That was his potential. And he had made pretty near $400,000 by the time he got retired from racing, because we
Yeah.
made quite a bit of money with him. And so that was a really neat horse that came through our hands.
Yeah, Cajoli was the man. And Mom, what's your favorite part about living on the farm?
The wide open spaces.
You like it wide open?
Yeah. Yeah. Your dad said, "Well, let's move to town." I said, "I'm not moving to town. You can
When did
move to
Dad
town."
want to move to town?
Oh, a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Well, it's in the wintertime, it's hard out here. You got to plow out sometimes, or sometimes it's nasty. You don't want to go to town in a blizzardy day and stuff
When
like
you've
that.
got your chickens out here.
I got my chickens out here. I can walk down. We have the most beautiful barn your dad and I built.
I do love the barn. That's my favorite place out here.
By the way, he said you did an excellent job cleaning the barn
Well,
today.
I've only been cleaning stalls for 28 years. But we've got pheasant opener. That's another fun time. And
Yeah.
everybody.
Well, we love here. People, it's surprisingly, I call our farm the little farm on the edge of the tundra because our land borders Canada.
Yep.
I mean, we can't go any farther north than where we live.
Right.
And we're kind of tied down to go visit people. Our racing horses is our outlet. That's the only time we get to travel. We've never traveled except maybe 2 times in our whole life without hauling horses, going to get a horse.
And one of them was last year to Kansas City.
Yeah,
Christmas.
that was like the second time that first time we went to Kansas City was before you were born for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we always have, and you know what? We went down there. We were going to stop and see Ray and see horses.
Right. There's always
So
horses.
There's always horses involved.
Yeah.
Like I told one time I did an interview of the newspaper and Grandpa Babe was there and we were talking and we said, racing is the glue that holds this family together.
Yeah, it's true.
It brought us together. It keeps us together. We were all
Yeah,
interested.
you met Dad through it.
Yeah, we were all interested in racing. Grandpa Babe raced. Your dad was a jockey. I mean,
Well, and then just so I don't forget, people that don't know you. So Bob Baffert, who is probably, well, he is the best trainer of all time, wouldn't you say? horse
Oh,
trainer?
yeah, one of the best. There's
And
some
you
few
kind of,
really good ones, but he's won a lot of stake races, like the Kentucky Derby, and
well, he owned American Pharoah, who American Pharoah
well,
won
he
the Triple
trained
Crown,
American Pharoah.
or
Yeah,
trained him, excuse me.
yeah,
He trained the latest Triple Crown winner.
yeah.
He's done a lot in horse racing, but you knew him before anybody else really.
I knew him in 1979 in Tucson, Arizona. I went down there. I bought a new pickup in '78 when I moved back from Colorado. And I had that horse. I bought that first horse. I decided I had met that summer in Shelby. I met these cowboys, and they said, God, we spend the winter in Tucson. It's right across from the racetrack. You should come down there and you could work the track and come over and rope with us, And
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? That sounds really fun. So I got my college roommate, Gail Madler.
Shout out Gail Madler.
We took my new pickup.
Was that orange and tan?
Orange and tan. My
Nice.
'78
O&T.
Ford Super Cab. I was a pioneer buying a Super Cab because I wanted a place for my dog to ride.
Yeah.
My dog Tilly.
Yep.
Anyway, so me and Gail and Tilly, we headed on down to Tucson, and Gail was going to get a job mucking motels, and I was going to muck stalls because she wasn't that much of a horse person. But we went to the racetrack when we got there, and we both got jobs the first day. And as we were walking out of the barn area, a barn that we had to walk by was a guy he was our age, but his hair was already turning gray. And he trained two horses, a thoroughbred and a quarter horse. And he was really cute. And we teased him because he knew he was cute and he knew he was special. So we teased the crap out of him and told him he thought he was God's gift to women. His name was Bob Bafford.
Wow.
So every day we stopped to visit with Bob, and we just teased the crap out of him. And we were good friends with him.
Yeah.
And then he actually got me a job with the guy I was working for toward the end of the meet was a brand inspector named Gerald Wiley. And so then he quit, took his horse and left. So then I didn't have a job. So then I got a pony horse from a guy named Jerry Livingston, who's a trainer in Remington Park right now. Got to be good. And he goes at Canterbury in the summertime too. He's still a really good friend of mine. I see him every once in a while. But he gave me his pony horse. His name was Nylon, and I started ponying horses there. And Gail worked at the racetrack for another guy. But then when I lost my job with Gerald Wiley, Bob Bafford got me a job with John Bassett, who's this really rich guy that has these quarter horses. And he had stalls the size of our kitchen, and he had 4 horses, and it was supposed to be an easy job. But cleaning a stall this big, like he wanted to clean, after 4 days of that, I said, nah, I don't want this job. I'm just going to pony horses.
Well, there
So
you go.
that's what I did.
That's pretty cool, though. You
Yeah.
got to kind of grow up with Bob Baffert in the horse racing
Yeah.
world.
And so then, let's see, that was '79. In '83, '84, I used to go to Yakima, and had some trainers that would going down to Los Alamitos. And so they said, you may as well come along, bring your pony horse, and you can pony for us and spend the winter down there. And I thought, that sounded pretty fun.
Yeah.
So I loaded up 2 horses, and I went down there, and Bafford was down at Los Alamitos. Is just a quarter horse race at that time. They ran 6 days a week, and they ran every night from 6:45 to 11:45.
Whoa. Late.
And so being one of the new girls on the block, I always had to pony the last race, but you still had to be there at 5:00 the next morning to take morning horses.
Jeez.
So it was a tough grind. And Bob was doing pretty well. He had quite a few quarter horses in, so I ponied some for him, and I saw him all the time and stuff. And so he said, the guy that writes for the Daily Racing Form wants me to go over to start to Santa Anita and start training thoroughbreds, but I don't know if I want to or not, because quarter horses they're really exciting and fun. They're kind of a little bit more excitement than thoroughbreds, but it's short-lived because they only run for like 17 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, so I said, you know what, you probably should, because you can make a bigger career out of it. I mean, thoroughbred trainers go everywhere. Maybe you can win the Kentucky. Maybe you can win the Kentucky Derby one year. We were laughing about it,
Yeah.
And so, as time went on, he did start training thoroughbreds. he did win his first Kentucky Derby. And so, with a horse named Silver Charm, and they gave him a big silver cup. And I have a picture of this that was in a magazine. He took the cup and he turned it upside down and he wore it like a hat because that's the kind of crazy guy he was.
Yeah.
And he said, I want to dedicate this. Like he was a jockey at one time when he was young too. He said, I want to dedicate this win to all the trainers that actually rode me because I was terrible.
Well, yeah, you've met quite a few people through the horse racing world and everything. Mom.
Yeah.
Must be a pretty cool feeling.
It was very fun. Very fun.
Well, Mom, we've been going at this already for an hour. So
Really?
every guest that I have on, I ask them to leave me with something that for everybody to take. You know, you're my number one fan with swim lessons. What do you think you could leave everybody with that maybe they can apply to their lives?
Well, I didn't think about this question. I was thinking about the 10 questions.
I haven't done that in a while.
Okay. Well, I would have to say that you just about gonna make me cry thinking about this.
Why?
When during your lifetime, you can have some real devastating things happen to you.
Yep.
Like me. I thought the hardest thing that I faced was my dad dying when I was 19. He didn't just die, he committed suicide. I hadn't seen him since I was 9 years old. That was very devastating. That was a prelude to having my husband get killed at the age of 23, being married for a year and a half. Then my grandpa passed away. So I lost the three most important men in my life. And I thought, life's pretty shitty. And when I moved to Colorado, I started my life over. And it turned out to be a really good one.
Yeah. You had me. Yay. You don't
I
have to cry, Mom. It's all good.
Well, I you know how I am. I cry at everything. I got a racetrack career that I never planned on having. I have so many people that I've met. Like I told my mom, Grandma Dorothy, I said, one day it would be so wonderful to go to any racetrack in the United States and know at least one person, and then you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I've almost accomplished that, which amazes me.
Yeah.
And
done good, Mom.
Well, and meeting your dad, having you, living on a farm, all these things are dreams come true.
Yeah.
So even though your life gets devastated in many ways when you're young, in your 20s and your 30s, you never know when devastation hits you. Don't give it up. Every day is, you don't want to kill yourself because, man, what's going to happen tomorrow?
Right.
There's always a tomorrow.
Could meet someone new. Could
you
get a
have
new
to
job.
you have to keep your curiosity for life. I guess that would be my statement. You have to keep your curiosity for life because you don't know what's going to come up. You don't know. And even if it's something bad, there's still going to keep your faith in God because there's going to be something good.
Wow, that's really good, Mom. Thanks for sharing that. That was good. It's a
love
good way
you.
to end the show. I love you too. Thanks for doing this, Mom.
Okay.
Any other closing? What do you want to say? What people really like your Facebook too. You post really cool stories.
I have fun on Facebook. When I first
You're
started,
addicted to Facebook.
When
Mom.
I first started Facebook, you said, "Mom, your posts are too long." I
and
said,
now everybody likes them. It's annoying.
and that's the whole point of my long posts is because I want to tell a little story about what happened to me today. And if it brings you a laugh, that's the best part because I'm trying to share the stupid, funny things that you can see that's funny every day.
Yeah.
If you eat the chicken, the cat bringing a snake. I mean, it's all dumb
Scruff.
stuff.
The goat.
It's all dumb stuff, but it's fun and it takes away from the
Negativity.
from the shitty life every day that people have sometimes.
That's true. Well, I love you, Mom. Thanks again for coming on to Swim Lessons, and that's a wrap. Thanks, everybody.
I told you it's gonna be a party.